I'm just going to pause for a second. And I encourage you to do the same thing and just close your eyes. And breathe into the depth of your own heart. And what I do is I just kind of take a light and I sweep through my heart, and whatever isn't serving me, I ground it. I let it clear and settle into the earth. And then just a second breath, breathing into your heart and letting that light of the highest to refill. Okay. Hello. This is Teresa, and I'm bringing you the energetic signature of March. So, why do I call it the energetic signature? It's when it's really like a celestial influence or cosmic guidance for the month. It's because I'm not predictive. And I'd rather just be more in tune with the energy that is influencing each of us and all of us, rather than forecasting or predicting. I guess you could say it's forecasting though, because I'll just start with the fact that it's March 1st of 2021. Oh, Carissa, I'm sorry. Carissa? It's just like Teresa. I know. Okay. I don't know why. I think it's because I went to school with Teresa, and she had SSA, and so I see that ESSA, and it triggers the Teresa and not Teresa, so Carissa. But anyhow, part of that too is this. I'll tie all this together. That the girl I went to middle school with, she brought forward so many of my insecurities. She was very outgoing and beautiful and popular. And I was just so insecure about myself every time I was around her. So that's also the funny thing of life, especially when you're in middle school. So it is March of 2021, and I am light years away from middle school, although I still personally have a lot of insecurities. In March, we know March comes in. I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky. So it's usually March Madness, the excitement of basketball, and that all shifted. I mean, I know there's still basketball happening, but there's this different fever. There's this different energy in the air because of COVID-19, or as my kids call it, the COVID. And so the energetic signature is a way to kind of work with all this newness, all this change in our experience, and the way we're A, experiencing our life, and B, engaging with one another or not, right? Like maybe we aren't engaging, or maybe people are coming out of the woodwork, and perhaps you're reconnecting, right? Like I want to acknowledge somebody who requested to join the group, and I knew her a long time ago. She still is strikingly beautiful. And her comment was sweet because we absorbed the energy. So in the energetic signature of this month, we want to realize that the main energy is water and air. Those are kind of my specialties. So we want to remain curious and compassionate. We're in this place of March of giving birth to spring, giving birth to this new life. So you can kind of think of the energetic signature of feeling very full of life, but it's not out there yet. It's not tangible. It's not seen. It's this chance to really move inward and connect with the higher energy of yourself, to go down and deep into the deep, murky waters of your soul, and feel that those emotions with clear boundaries, because we only will have a tiny tad little bit of earth energy for all of us, but it's not going to be personal energy. So that personal energy is going to be more of that mental clarity and ideas that we're going to be motivated, a little competitive with our close networks, in education, feeling that articulation and speaking education forward, and how we can help the younger ones learn. There's also this ability to kind of luxuriate in those deeper waters. So when I say all that out loud, there's this invitation to actually go inward and tend to that inner child, that younger version of yourself who maybe got reprimanded for being curious, especially since I've brought up energies from my past, that those insecurities can be healed and respected and just felt, right? Like, since I brought up middle school, that insecurity of just so much changing, it was not a time where I shined at all. But for my older sister, it was like her glory days. So there's not like about being it better or worse, but seeing how in that journey of your youth, what was reprimanded because you were curious, and find a way to get curious about that part of yourself that can come alive, that you can actually, it's like a do-over, because that motivated, that action-oriented energy is going to be a little fragmented. So it's kind of like you get to do things twice. And in that energy of doing things twice, do the energy for yourself. Be in that realm of connecting to those parts of yourself that want to travel and explore, and finding ways to explore the parks in your area, to bear witness and use this air energy, this perspective, this idea, this thinking, not to ruminate of what didn't happen, not to get so stuck in the past that you become paralyzed, but rather to feel the pain. And you might need to employ a coach or a counselor or somebody who is trained in holding space for you and listening. I'm not always a good listener. I usually like to encourage. But to really kind of help somebody hold perspective and hold space for you that can be more objective and celebrate your higher self, the pure potential of you, and reflect it back. Not to direct you and guide you, so that you can really listen inward to that elegance and that beauty with compassion and kindness. And by the end of the month, we're going to have by the end of the month, we're going to feel this fire to initiate. We're going to see I grew up with that saying, in like a lion, out like a lamb, march. I don't know, it's kind of weird, but I never got it. But there's that sort of the change. I think the underlining idea here is the change of energy that happens in March. And we get this, finally, we will feel the fire, but we can't get to the fire to initiate unless we let ourselves awaken to the depths. And we can actually have a vibrant vision for ourselves, that our vitality is being called forward, that pure potentiality is coming forward, is being called forward. And we may not fully get it, but if we take the time to tend to the parts of ourselves that have been kind of tossed around in the choppy waters, is how I would say it, is being in that land of emotional confusion, or even mentally stuck or blocked, and know that it's okay to be a little wobbly. Like, you might hit some turbulence. Those aren't my words, but they make sense. Like, have you ever been flying in a plane and the skies are clear, and then you hit a pocket of air and it bounces you around? That's kind of like the energy. And so you settle and you breathe, and hopefully you're sitting next to somebody who knows how to fly and they can talk you through it. That's kind of the idea. When I was learning how to fly, I learned how to fly in a very small plane, and you just had to learn how to be in the skies with just so much opportunity for freedom, but you had to also stay grounded and clear of your trajectory. And that's what March is all about, is about being able to move through, feeling the emotional land, swimming in the deeper waters, and giving yourself the time to meditate, to be contemplative, to articulate and engage with your innermost self. Talk to her, to make friends with her, to befriend your ego, because that ego will come forward and it's going to want to move forward and it's going to talk. So talk in a way that you engage with compassion, and then connect to that network of people that will cheer you on and remind you of the vitality that's awaiting you. And then when we engage with this signature of energy for March, once we get midway, we'll feel kind of that initiatory. We won't be so like kind of lean back and dreamy and meditative. The shift from water to fire happens with the first day of spring. And it's kind of also this time where the energy of our values and our love and our purpose all kind of come together. And it's this sweet kiss to the dreamy nature of our angels. And then it is sweet kiss to the dreamy nature of our angels. And then it's like the feminine takes charge. She initiates. And so we kind of have been taught to be that way as women, to take charge and initiate, but it's confusing because we're also supposed to make the food and make things beautiful. It's also International Women's Month, which is just interesting because every month should be Women's Month, just like every month should be Black History, but I guess it's the idea of heightening the focus. But it makes sense to really, how can I summarize this in the simplest of ways? The beginning of March is this final moment before winter comes to a close, that we're on that threshold, that we want to go inward and really see our potentiality and see the vitality coming forward, where we can prioritize what matters. We can stay in tune to our higher self. Now, real clear, what matters isn't the social media profile picture. What matters isn't the acknowledgement that you make and that you tell everybody what you're doing. What matters is the peace and the harmony and being comfortable in your own essence. Because when you are at peace and you have allowed for the forgiveness and the healing of what maybe you thought was gonna be, right? Like, since I brought up being a middle schooler, it's like literally, it still sometimes makes me cry how lost and disconnected I was from my humanness. And like really blindly walking into this arena of not feeling in alignment with all the things I was supposed to be doing, and not like really feeling out of place, right? So now I can see that in, I have tools, I have techniques, I have women who have led me and guided me to embrace those qualities, so that then as I sit in this moment in my home, talking to myself and recording, that I can also bring that energy of confidence and courage and bravery to my children and those people that I engage with. So that invitation to kind of like marinate in your soul's essence right now. Not what your ego had this idea of what you were supposed to do and what you were supposed to become, but rather it's kind of a clean slate for humanity as a whole. Obviously, we've inherited ideas and judgments, and so much of the world and systems have projected onto us what it's supposed to be. And so we have this permission to actually say, wow, you know what? I want to become the beautiful being that I was meant to be. And it's baby steps. So whatever came into full illumination at the end of February realize that with the new moon that will happen on March 13th, there's this kind of chance to look at the lessons, look at the way that you engage with your soul, and how can you bring more flow of that essential energy forward, which maybe it's just being courageous about how you feel and not letting the mind dictate, oh, sadness is bad. Oh, I don't have this in my life. Oh, that's all the ego. That's not good for us. That's not the healthiest way. So we want to find that relationship with the ego and say, hey, look, I get this chance to realign with a greater sense of energy. And that energy is valuing the data of my emotions so that I can realize how vulnerable I can be with myself and honor that valuable nature and realize that that's the currency of paying forward and allowing your vibrant future self to call you forward. So, okay, here in simple terms, okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. In simple terms, if you wanna lose 15 pounds or the COVID-5, okay, the COVID-5, the COVID-20, the COVID-25, whatever it is, first and foremost, you're gonna have to allow the healing of something inside of you. So the only way you can allow it to heal is if you allow it to come to the surface. So we tend to bury, we tend to bury, we tend to bury. Now what you can't do is overanalyze what's going on. You have to acknowledge it, hold it in the palm of your hands, and allow it to be bathed into the light and call in that guidance to help you see it differently. And then when you see it differently, that you recommit. That's the energy of a new moon, is a recommitment for the ease and the comfort of your soul. And that you allow that energy to guide you forward. And every time you feel the upsurge or the contraction of that limiting belief and that limiting notion of who you are because of what you have, then you let that be the trigger to be like, there's more healing. I need to take more time for myself. And then you say, okay, what was my intention was to get rid of the COVID-5. You want to think about how do you want to feel when you're in the energy of the summer solstice, right? The first day of summer. So let's just do it baby steps. Well, that means right here, right now, you get up and you go for a walk around the block. You do yoga. You don't list out a whole bunch of excuses and waste time. So the energetic signature is about being in the waters of like kind of not ruminating, but luxuriating in your meditation and your contemplative practices of your book, of your idea of bringing more beauty into your life. Maybe it's every time you go to the groceries, you have budgeted one bunch of flowers. Maybe you do something silly like I did. My dad thought I was so weird because my parents have been living with me for 4 days that I got excited about the little house plant fertilizer spikes. Turns out he was from Kentucky, made a lot of money. And it was just so amazing to know that I was depositing into, like, my plants are my artwork. I don't have a lot of art on the walls. This room might be the most I have. My plants are my artwork. They are what bring beauty for me. So being able to know that I was investing into that soil to nourish and nurture, that's what you want to do. So if it means you're going to budget, maybe not every time you go to the grocery store, but every 2 weeks that you want to buy tulips, you want to buy daffodils. Springtime is so, the flowers start to come so much. If it bothers you of how flower farming happens, then research a source locally that you can get flowers that aren't overly chemicalized, because they are, unfortunately. Or maybe you just go and buy the bulbs and you put them in soil and you grow your own tulips. Do you see what I'm saying? You've got to be able to go down and in order for the beauty to come up and out. And so by the end of March, we have the full moon. I don't have the Libra full moon. I think it's on the 23rd or 28th. Can't remember right now. And my notes are not right in front of me. And that will be the illuminating energy of how are we being truthful with the relationship inward as well as outward. How are we really, what's being illuminated in our engagements as we work with others and collaborate? So main energies are emotional, sensitivity, and compassionate, and soulful, the visionary, the dreamer. Tap into that. If you find you pick up a lot of other people's energy, then pull back and don't try to be too busy in your life, and get busy with giving yourself the time and the healing you deserve. We're going to have this learning how to fly energy for a while, all year long, to be honest with you. But at the end of March, it starts to get extra blurry. And so if you feel a little confused and out of sorts, just know we're learning. It's new. We don't know how to do it. And so come back to the way that you can nourish yourself. Ground yourself by honoring your priorities. And then with the grounding of your priorities, communicate them with yourself on a daily basis. Bring that soulful living to the surface every day. If that means you're going to give yourself a permission to cry for the next 15 days, beautiful. But because we don't have really any fire in the sky until the beginning, March 8th, that we're going to have to wait until the end of March, the last week of March, and then the fire comes full on, and we're going to feel a big shift of energy. So that's it. And then I'm going to continue to I'm just going to do energetic signatures the first of the month at 1 o'clock. Easy for me to remember and easy for me to block out. So it's always the first of the month at 1 o'clock if you want to join live. Otherwise, they will be posted for you. And if you want to know where on your own astrological chart, in your own sort of personal cosmic imprint, where you can kind of put in the energy of understanding where you can feel the energy to come alive, and also to know what's going on. If you want to look at the first half, if you know your chart, just look at what house Pisces is in, but you want to also look at the energy of drive. So Mars is going to go to Gemini. So you can also look at Gemini, because lots of things are getting activated, and I don't want to shift into technical because then I'll be here for another 45 minutes. So you can reach out to me, message me, or email me, and I'm happy to look at your chart. And if you don't know your chart, just set something up with me and we can do a reading. And the readings are really cosmic guidance and astro insight, where we get curious about how you know yourself and how you can be even more of who you are. Thank you, love you, and I will be back for yoga, always live at 10 a.m. on Tuesday and Thursday, right here in the Mindfully You group. Or you can find the recordings here, Mindfully You, or via YouTube. Fun times. Ciao.